It's been a rough few years for General Motors, but this latest announcement might just be the biggest blow yet. Imagine this. In August 2023, GM dropped a bombshell announcing a massive recall impacting millions of cars across the US and Canada. The issue? Faulty airbags, an $86 million recall linked to the notorious Takata airbag scandal that's haunted the auto industry for years. And GM's latest recall isn't just any recall. This is the kind that hits hard, putting customer trust on the line. This recall includes popular models like the Chevy Camaro, Chevy Bolt, Chevy Sonic, and Buick Verano. Imagine driving your brand new car and realizing that your driver's airbag, a device meant to protect you, could instead explode like a grenade. The recall notice warned that these airbags could rupture upon deployment, spraying metal fragments and putting drivers at risk of serious injury or even death. It's a terrifying thought, and unfortunately GM isn't alone in this. It's part of a broader problem that's been haunting the entire auto industry. So what's the deal with these Takata airbags? It all comes down to ammonium nitrate, a compound often used in explosives. Takata, the supplier, used this compound in the inflators without proper safety measures. Over time, humidity and heat can cause the compound to become unstable, turning what should be a life-saving device into a potential danger. This recall is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. In the US alone, 67 million airbags have been recalled. That's more than the population of Italy, and the consequences have been devastating, leading to numerous injuries, fatalities, and eventually Takata's bankruptcy. For GM, being tangled up in the Takata scandal is a nightmare. Each recall adds another layer to the company's struggle with quality control and, more importantly, with public perception. Every recall announcement reminds consumers that their safety might be at risk, and this does nothing to inspire confidence in GM's products, EV setbacks, and financial losses. As if the airbag recalls weren't enough, GM's struggles extend far beyond faulty safety equipment. In their race to lead the EV market, GM has faced another thorn in their side, the Chevy Bolt. This model was meant to be GM's answer to the EV revolution, a bold step toward a greener future and a direct competitor to Tesla's more affordable models. But what was supposed to be the company's flagship EV has turned into a series of expensive setbacks. The Chevy Bolt's journey has been rocky, to say the least. Shortly after its release, reports began to emerge about serious battery issues, including the terrifying risk of battery fires. Imagine buying an EV only to be told not to park it in your garage or near your house because it might spontaneously catch fire. This wasn't just a minor inconvenience, it was a public relations disaster. GM eventually issued multiple recalls for the Bolt, each one adding to the financial burden and further damaging consumer trust. These Bolt recalls have been a major headache for GM, costing the company not just money but also its reputation. We're talking about millions of dollars spent on recalls, battery replacements, and compensation for inconvenienced owners. The worst part, these recurring issues have eroded consumer confidence, making potential buyers wary of GM's ability to deliver reliable EVs. And GM can't afford to lose trust in this crucial moment. The company has invested heavily in electrification, committing billions of dollars to transition their lineup to electric and compete with industry leaders like Tesla. But with each Bolt recall, consumers are left wondering if GM's push toward electrification is more of a rushed gamble than a calculated step forward. There's a silver lining though. The Bolt recall, as damaging as it has been, shows that GM is taking responsibility for its mistakes. By addressing the battery issues head on, GM is trying to reassure consumers that safety comes first. After all, a recall, frustrating as it may be, is ultimately better than risking the safety of drivers. However, the real question remains, is this enough to repair GM's image, or has the damage already been done? From quality to quantity, where GM went wrong. Once upon a time, General Motors was a name that stood for quality and pride. Back in the 80s and 90s, GM was like the star athlete of the automotive world, producing cars that turned heads and inspired loyalty. People would walk into a dealership with full confidence, knowing they'd be driving home a solid, dependable vehicle. But somewhere along the line, GM's focus shifted. The goal was no longer about building the best car, it was about building the most cars. Instead of focusing on making a few models exceptional, GM began pumping out vehicles at a breakneck pace, aiming to increase sales volumes at all costs. It was like a fast food mentality, quantity over quality. There were even internal memos that hinted at GM's approach during this time. Just ship it, we'll fix it later. And while that may sound efficient on paper, the reality was far messier. Quality began to slip, recalls became more frequent, and consumers started noticing. Vehicles were going out to market with issues that needed more than a quick fix. This more is more philosophy led to a flood of different models and options. On the surface, it seemed like a great idea. More choices for consumers, right? But behind the scenes, it created a mess of complexity and quality issues. GM's assembly lines became overwhelmed with the sheer variety, and quality control became harder to manage. Imagine being in a candy store with too many choices. It's exciting at first, but quickly becomes overwhelming. That's what GM's production process looked like, and it was clear that they were beginning to lose control over the consistency and reliability that had once been their hallmark. And as quality faltered, GM's response only added to the problem. Instead of addressing the root causes of these quality issues, the company started pointing fingers. Blame was shifted onto workers and assembly line staff, creating a culture of resentment and frustration. Imagine being an employee, working hard to keep up with this insane production pace, only to be blamed when something went wrong. Morale plummeted, and with it, the company's overall quality. Rather than motivating their team, GM's leadership demoralized them. When quality is an afterthought, it's only a matter of time before consumers notice. By the time GM realized the damage being done, they were already facing stiff competition. New players like Tesla were entering the market, challenging the traditional giants with innovative models and streamlined production processes. Meanwhile, GM was still grappling with the complexities of its bloated lineup and lagging behind in the innovation race. GM went from being the reliable, dependable brand of choice to yesterday's news as consumers turned to fresher, more innovative options. Competing with Tesla and newcomers, GM's downfall wasn't just a product of internal missteps. As they stumbled, the competition was racing ahead. The automotive landscape was changing rapidly, and new players were eager to fill the gaps left by GM and other traditional automakers. Tesla, for instance, transformed from a small startup into a giant, not by copying the industry's playbook, but by rewriting it entirely. While GM was bogged down by its expansive lineup and struggling with quality control, Tesla focused on a few core models, a strategy that allowed them to perfect their products, streamline production, and build a reputation for reliability and innovation. Tesla's Model 3, for instance, didn't just offer consumers an electric vehicle, it provided a vision of the future wrapped up in an accessible, affordable package. Consumers could see that Tesla was serious about revolutionizing transportation, while GM was still viewed as playing catch-up. But it's not just Tesla. Chinese automakers have also been making huge strides, introducing models that appeal to budget-conscious buyers who might have once looked to GM. Brands like BYD and NIO are creating electric vehicles that are affordable, efficient, and packed with features. These companies are building cars tailored to modern buyers, many of whom are looking for environmentally friendly, tech-savvy options, and they're doing it fast, faster than many traditional automakers can keep up with. In the EV market, GM's models just haven't had the same impact as those from Tesla or even these newer Chinese brands. Instead of being seen as a leader in the electric revolution, GM has largely been playing the role of a follower, trying to mimic the success of other brands but struggling to capture the same momentum. Every attempt to enter the EV space has been marred by recalls, delayed launches, and quality issues that damage the brand's image further. The problem isn't just about keeping up with trends, it's about creating them. Tesla in particular has succeeded because it's a brand that drives change and shapes consumer expectations. Elon Musk's bold vision and Tesla's innovative spirit have captured the public's imagination in a way that GM's leadership hasn't managed. Tesla isn't just an electric car company, it's a status symbol, a lifestyle brand that people are eager to be part of. GM, by contrast, feels like it's stuck in the past, struggling to stay relevant while newer, more agile competitors steal the spotlight. And the impact of this competition isn't just about sales numbers. Brand loyalty is shifting. Consumers who might have once considered GM their go-to are now looking elsewhere, drawn to brands that offer more than just a car. They offer an experience, a glimpse of the future. GM, with its outdated reputation and legacy brand image, faces a steep climb if it hopes to win back the trust and enthusiasm of a generation increasingly captivated by Tesla's futuristic appeal and the affordability of new Chinese EVs. With competition tightening around them and their attempts to adapt falling short, GM finds itself in a precarious position. Can they innovate quickly enough to reclaim their place as an industry leader, or is this truly the beginning of the end for the iconic brand? GM's next moves will determine whether they can recover, or if they'll continue down this downward spiral, losing more ground to the industry's rising stars. GM's all-electric vision. Amidst all the setbacks and competitive pressures, GM's leadership remains committed to a bold vision for the future. CEO Mary Barra has doubled down on the company's plan to go fully electric, an ambitious pivot meant to reshape GM from a traditional automaker into a front-runner in the electric vehicle EV revolution. While Tesla may have stolen the spotlight with its early dominance in the EV market, Barra has her sights set on a much larger prize, transforming GM into a company that not only matches Tesla's impact, but eventually surpasses it. GM's all-electric commitment is no small undertaking. Barra has announced that the company will launch 30 new electric models by 2025. That's right, GM plans to introduce an impressive array of EVs over the next few years, covering everything from affordable mass-market models to luxury electric SUVs and trucks. The lineup includes anticipated models like the Cadillac Lyriq and the GMC Hummer EV, showcasing GM's aim to cater to a diverse customer base and challenge rivals in both the luxury and utility vehicle markets. But perhaps the most ambitious target in GM's electric playbook is the goal of producing 1 million EVs in North America by 2025. To make this all possible, GM has been pouring billions of dollars into battery production and manufacturing facilities. The company is building state-of-the-art battery plants in Ohio, Tennessee, and Michigan, positioning itself to become a powerhouse in EV production. These Ultium battery plants are part of GM's strategy to vertically integrate and secure a steady, scalable supply of battery cells, which are the heart of every EV. Barra and her team envision these investments as key to driving down costs and making EVs accessible to a wider audience. Building the infrastructure and partnering with Tesla. As GM transitions toward an all-electric lineup, Barra knows that the journey doesn't end with producing more EVs. For EV adoption to truly succeed, consumers need to feel confident in the infrastructure supporting these vehicles. Charging stations, battery durability, and affordable pricing all play crucial roles in making EVs a viable alternative to gas-powered cars. Aware of these challenges, GM has taken steps to create a support network that will make owning an EV more practical and accessible. In an unexpected twist, GM has even teamed up with its competitor, Tesla, to improve charging infrastructure across the US. Tesla, which already has a robust charging network, agreed to open its supercharger stations to GM customers, giving GM EV owners access to one of the most widespread and reliable charging networks available. This move shows GM's willingness to set aside competition in favor of the bigger picture, encouraging the widespread adoption of EVs by making charging as convenient as possible for all EV owners. But GM isn't stopping with Tesla. They're reportedly exploring partnerships with other automakers to create a coalition of companies dedicated to expanding the EV charging network. Imagine a future where all EV brands share a common infrastructure, where charging stations are as plentiful as gas stations are today. It's a vision that requires collaboration, and GM's openness to these partnerships signals their understanding that building an EV market isn't something they can achieve alone. To support these efforts, GM has also committed to developing affordable EVs for the everyday consumer. For instance, the company is planning to launch an electric crossover that will cost around $30,000. This price point makes the vehicle competitive with traditional gas-powered models, helping ease the financial barrier that has kept many consumers from considering EVs. Barra's strategy is clear. She wants EVs to be accessible, affordable, and practical. By building more charging stations, lowering costs, and partnering with Tesla, GM hopes to create a seamless experience for future EV owners. The question, however, is whether GM's strategy will work quickly enough to make a difference. The company's ambitious goals are impressive on paper, but in reality, there are still significant challenges. Building battery plants, establishing a reliable infrastructure, and ramping up production for new EV models is no small feat. For GM, this is a race against time, and every delay or misstep could risk pushing consumers into the arms of competitors who already have a head start. The stakes are high, and GM's gamble on electrification is filled with potential pitfalls. Still, Barra is confident that their multi-pronged strategy, more models, extensive infrastructure, and affordable pricing will pay off. But as GM attempts to challenge Tesla's dominance in the EV space, they must ensure that their bold vision doesn't just remain an aspiration, but becomes a reality that consumers can rely on. This next chapter for GM is as thrilling as it is uncertain. Can they execute on these plans in time to carve out a significant place in the future of electric vehicles, or will they find themselves sidelined by more agile, focused competitors? The Chevy Bolt's roller coaster ride. The Chevy Bolt EV was supposed to be GM's secret weapon in the electric vehicle market, a small, affordable EV designed to bring green energy to the masses. Introduced as America's most budget-friendly EV, the Bolt quickly gained traction. It made EV ownership accessible for consumers who couldn't afford a luxury Tesla and became GM's best-selling electric vehicle. In fact, at one point, the Bolt made up nearly 95% of GM's EV sales. For many, it was a symbol of progress, proof that GM could produce an affordable electric car for the average American. But as we've seen time and time again with GM, the promise didn't quite live up to reality. Despite its popularity, the Chevy Bolt faced serious challenges. Reports started surfacing about battery fires, turning what was supposed to be GM's green flagship into a major liability. The issue was severe enough that GM had to advise Bolt owners not to park their cars indoors or near their homes. Imagine the frustration of buying a brand new electric car, only to be told it might catch fire if parked in the wrong spot. This wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a nightmare for GM's public image. GM issued multiple recalls for the Bolt, each one costing the company millions of dollars. They even offered complimentary battery replacements to affected owners, a huge expense and a logistical headache. The recalls weren't just costly, they also chipped away at consumer trust. EV buyers wanted peace of mind, not the worry of potential battery fires. For many, these issues were enough to steer them away from the brand. Yet despite these challenges, the Bolt did manage to attract new customers to GM. In fact, around 75% of Bolt buyers were new to GM. They saw the Bolt as a gateway to eco-friendly driving without breaking the bank. This influx of new buyers was promising, but in the end, it wasn't enough to save the model. Earlier this year, GM made the difficult decision to discontinue the Bolt. Even with recent price cuts that boosted sales, GM was losing money on every unit sold. Now GM is looking to replace the Bolt with something bigger, banking on the upcoming Chevrolet Equinox EV to fill the gap. The Equinox EV promises a fresh start, boasting features and capabilities that are expected to appeal to the same budget-conscious crowd the Bolt once served. But there's a twist. The Equinox EV is likely to have a higher price tag, which could alienate some of the Bolt's fans who were drawn to its affordability. Will the Equinox have the same magic as the Bolt? Only time will tell if GM can deliver an electric vehicle that resonates with Bolt enthusiasts without repeating past mistakes. The Ultium platform and GM's next-gen EVs. With the Bolt phased out, GM is pinning its EV future on a new foundation. This advanced battery architecture is at the heart of GM's EV ambitions, designed to streamline production, improve efficiency, and reduce costs. Unlike traditional electric vehicle platforms, the Ultium system is modular, meaning it can be used across a range of models, from small sedans to large trucks. GM believes that this platform is the key to creating a diverse lineup of EVs that can finally compete in a market dominated by Tesla and emerging competitors. The Ultium platform isn't just a technological upgrade, it represents a strategic pivot for GM. By consolidating its EV production around this single platform, GM hopes to achieve the economies of scale that make EV manufacturing faster and more cost-effective. This approach aims to address one of the biggest challenges in the EV market: affordability. Battery costs remain high, making EVs pricier than many gas-powered cars. But with Ultium, GM plans to lower production costs. The first wave of Ultium-based vehicles includes high-profile models like the GMC Hummer EV and the Cadillac Lyriq. These vehicles aren't just about filling gaps in the lineup, they're designed to show the market that GM is serious about EV innovation. The Hummer EV, for instance, is a powerhouse that combines the brand's rugged reputation with green technology. It's a bold move that puts a new spin on a classic American icon, appealing to buyers who want both performance and sustainability. Similarly, the Cadillac Lyriq aims to blend luxury with cutting-edge technology, positioning itself as a serious competitor to luxury EVs from brands like Tesla and Audi. But GM isn't just focusing on high-end models. They're also developing a range of more affordable vehicles that will eventually be built on the Ultium platform, with the goal of producing 1 million EVs in North America by 2025. It's an ambitious target, and achieving it will require flawless execution. GM is betting that the Ultium platform's flexibility will allow them to ramp up production across multiple segments, from affordable crossovers to premium SUVs and performance trucks. This multifaceted strategy is meant to cover all bases, giving GM a chance to capture a wide audience of EV buyers. There's a lot riding on the Ultium platform, but it's not without its challenges. GM has promised that Ultium-based EVs will be profitable with single-digit profit margins, a challenging goal, especially in a market where competition is fierce and consumers are increasingly budget-conscious. But GM is confident that the investment will pay off in the long run. The hope is that by creating a versatile, cost-effective platform, GM can produce a lineup that not only meets demand, but also allows the company to carve out a sustainable position in the EV market. The Ultium platform isn't just a bet on the future of EVs, it's a lifeline for GM's future as a whole. For decades, GM's identity was tied to its iconic gas-powered vehicles. Now with Ultium, they're hoping to build a new legacy, one that is rooted in sustainability, innovation, and resilience. This next generation of GM EVs could determine whether the company's bold gamble pays off, or if they'll continue to struggle in an increasingly competitive market.